عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام را كتاب أنزلناه إليك لتخرج الناس من الظلمات إلى النور بإذن ربهم إلى صراط العزيز الحميد الله الذي له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وويل للكافرين من عذاب شديد الذين يستحبون الحياة الدنيا على الآخرة ويصدون عن سبيل الله ويبغونها عوجا أولئك في ضلال بعيد وما أرسلنا من رسول إلا بلسان قومه ليبين لهم فيضل الله من يشاء ويهدي من يشاء وهو العزيز الحكيم صدق الله العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Surah Ibraheem, the beginning part of the surah again. The first ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, Kitabun anzalnahu ilayka litukhrijan nasa min al-dhulumat. This word nas means people or humanity. So when the word nas is used in the Quran, because the Quran is till the last day, therefore whenever it addresses humanity or humans, it means every single human that comes to the last day. Therefore the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that Nabi who brings out people from darknesses, all people until the last day. Everyone, he is a Nabi of everyone. He brings out everyone from darkness. So there's people who saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his life on the face of this earth, and they were directly the Sahaba of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they were brought out. Similarly, after them there was people who met them and got the teachings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam through the Sahaba. Then the followers of the Tabi'een, the followers of the Sahaba, and the followers of the Tabi'een, the Taba' Tabi'een, the followers of the Tabi'een, the followers of the followers, and then up to the last day. It is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah will preserve this Quran, and Allah will preserve the meaning, the true meaning of this Quran, and Allah will preserve the Sunnah, the true Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is in fact an explanation and practical application of the Quran. So this ayah that we are doing today, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا بِلِسَانِ قَوْمِهِ, this also pertains to that subject, which is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that we have not sent any Rasul, any messenger, illa, except that on the bilisani qawmi, they spoke the tongue, or they were on the language of their nation. Qawm means nation, ummah is community. لِيُبَيِّنَ لَهُمْ, so that they could clearly convey the message to them. So all the Anbiya before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were, their prophethood, it was restricted to a certain group of people. For example, there is Anbiya of Bani Israel, that they were Anbiya of Bani Israel. Their subjects were Bani Israel. They would spread their teachings, they would speak the language of Bani Israel, they would convey the message to Bani Israel. The Sharia, the code of conduct that will be given to them, and the book that will be given to them, that book's teachings and rulings would also be for specifically for those people. So every book, now this is something to understand, every book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is perfect. It is perfect. But this term is relative. It is perfect for the people that it was given to, or it was the intended audience. So the book that was given to Sayyidina Musa and Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, in their own times, these were the famous Anbiya of Bani Israel who got the book. So now this book is perfect, and its teachings are perfect in relation to the Bani Israel of that time, in relation to the needs of their time. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his nation is the Arab people. Nation is Arab people, Qawm. His ummah, his community. Ummah means to which his prophethood is addressed is all humanity, not only humanity but animals and jinn kind and all creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's community is all humanity. This is proven in the first verse of this surah. In the fourth verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that we have not sent any Rasul except on the tongue of their nation. So the nation of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Arab. There is a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that you should revere, you should love the Arab people for three reasons. Number one, I am an Arab. Number two, Arabi is the language of the Quran, or the Quran is in Arabic. And third, the people of the paradise, their language is also Arabic. Some ulama have said that this hadith has weak chain of narration, but almost all of them, including Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi, they have said that the address, the subject of this hadith is very strong, and all the three things are true, and this is an intention of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the Arab people should be revered and respected and loved by the whole Muslim community, all Muslim ummah. So Hazrat Ibrahim came on the language of his people, Hazrat Lut on the language of his people, Hazrat Musa on the language of his people, Hazrat Isa on the language of his people, Hazrat Adam, Hazrat Noah, all of them. None of the books before the Quran was delivered to humanity in Arabic. All the other books are in a different language. And some researchers, some scholars have said that actually this is true if you can compare Arab versus non-Arab. You say Arab and Ajam. So all of the previous books were in Ajami languages, non-Arab languages. Only the Quran is in Arabic. Now, the intent of giving those prophets books in their own language was لِيُبَيِّنَ لَهُمْ, so that when the people understand that language, the Nabi also speaks that language and the book is also in that language, there is no confusion, everything is very open. The Nabi explains it to them easily and they understand him easily. The question arises when the Prophet ﷺ is a prophet for all humanity, and in humanity there's people who speak Chinese and there's people who speak Urdu and English and so many different languages. Persian, very close to the areas of the Prophet ﷺ, Arab, the Iraq is pretty close, these people. So why was the Prophet ﷺ not made a master of all languages? And why was, because it is possible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah could have sent down 50, 60 different Qur'ans having the same meaning but in different languages, so that the Prophet ﷺ could have spoken different languages and he could have, it is possible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to preserve all those languages and preserve the Qur'an. The reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose Arabic to be the language of Qur'an is because Arabic, according to authentic hadith, is a beloved language of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, Hazrat Abdullah ibn Masud radiallahu anhu said that all the word of Allah is in Arabic. Even the previous books, they are in Arabic. Allah said them in Arabic. Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam, when he gave it to the prophets, he gave it to them in their own language. So the word of Allah is in Arabic. And if there was difference in languages in the Quran, different people, it would have opened up a wide, it would have made a wide opening for difference in ummah, differences in ummah, that our Quran is in this language. You can always, when it's a different language, you can always create differences in meaning easier. It becomes easier. This is the reason why when we say the word Quran, the meaning is the word of Allah that Allah gave in Arabic and that Jibreel alayhi salam gave to our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Arabic. So if I only print or type the English translation, I cannot call it the Quran. It is not the Quran. There is organizations who are publishing only the English of the Quran and they are calling it the Quran. It is not the Quran. It is a translation of the Quran, and this is the reason why the Quran is preserved. One language, one word, one script, and that is going on for centuries. And it has not, even the disbelievers say that the Quran has not been modified. The Quran has not been changed. This is the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did choose one language, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Arabic that language. And this is the reason why, and why was it Arabic? Because in that time, in that world, number one, the Arab people really badly needed a prophet. They were in a very bad shape. But even with that, they had some qualities which are the qualities of leadership, which was, they were basically, number one, they were taking care of the people from across the world who would come for Hajj, from across the closing surrounding areas for Hajj. They would consider it their honor to serve those people. They also had this quality of hardy. They were hardy people. They would spread far and wide, and they would spread the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Similarly, when they understood something and accepted something, they would become very steadfast on it. And today also we see the Arab people are generally like that, that they, when they understand something, they are very steadfast on it, they are very strict about it. Anyway, so these qualities of the Arab people, generally they were nice, they had good qualities. Also, one very important quality of the Arab people was that there's no one else in the whole world that had the memories like the Arab people. Thousand pages or couplets, their kids would know by heart. So they had very good memory, and preservation requires all of these things. So preservation and spread. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be among the Arab people, and thus united the world again on the prophethood of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyidina Adam ala nabiyina salatu wassalam, he spoke one language. It was not Arabic. It was, originally his language was Arabic. Ulama have done the research that originally his language was Arabic, but it was with the intermingling of with the passage of time, it had become different, and his teachings and the children that he had, they spread, and they had different languages, but he was the Nabi. And then on the Prophet of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on one language, the whole world has been united again. And therefore, every single Muslim considers it an honor for themselves to learn the language and understand the meaning. If you want to understand the meaning of the Quran truly, you have to go and learn to some extent too. You have to learn the words and the meanings of this language of Arabic. So therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored the language Arabic and made the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam an Arab, and honored the Arabs because of putting the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam among the Arabs. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also gave the Quran in this one language for the whole world. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that the qawm, the nation of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is the Arab people, and the lisan is Arabi. Now as the different languages come, this Arabic language is also in this manner special, that it is an easy to learn language. Therefore the Sahaba, when they spread out, for example, countries like Egypt, countries like Syria, present day Syria, countries like Iraq, these were not Arab countries originally. They became Arab because the Sahaba went there and the Sahaba spoke Arabic. Now in today's world, everybody knows that Iraq is an Arab country. Everybody knows Egypt is an Arab country. Everybody knows Syria is an Arab country. These were not originally Arab countries. They became Arab because of the Sahaba. So Arabic language is such that when you preach it, you teach the Quran in it, and it is easy to learn. It becomes the language of the land easily. People are able to easily learn it. فَيُضِلُّ اللَّهُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down this book in this language, and Allah lets go astray whom He wills, and lets find guidance whom He wills. So those people who truly seek guidance with sincerity and listen to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they find guidance in the Quran. If they have corruption within them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lets them go astray. وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. He is almighty, all wise. He is the one who decides, and He is the full authority to, when He decides something, He has the full wisdom behind it, and He has the full authority to execute that decision. So that is, such is our Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahumma ja'alna min ahli al-Quran alladhi ahluka wa khassatuk. Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka antas sami'ul alim wa tub alayna innaka antat tawwabur rahim. Wa sallallahu ta'ala ala khayri khalqi sayyidina wa lana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amin. Ya arhamar rahimin.